Welcome everybody. This is Dave Wood talking to you from my home out in the mountains in Costa Rica. I'm excited. This is actually the last series of the workshop that we've had on how to make $15,000 a month. Now, if you look back over the workshop, over the series that we've done, there's been a lot of information presented to you, and some of you are going to leave here and still kind of feel like you don't know what to do. But what I'm going to do in the beginning of this webinar and also at the end is I'm going to kind of come back and I'm going to pull together all the different things that we've learned and kind of lay out a little bit of a game plan for you. Tonight I'm excited about because tonight we're going to go over some of the concepts that I think are actually the much more important concepts, which are leadership strategies. You know, a lot of people, especially in this niche, in this ball game, they tend to think that the technical things are the things that matter the most. And the reality is that anybody who's made a lot of money in this industry, let's scratch out the people for a second that made $1,000 once back in 1982 and brag about it. If you look at the people that actually have done significantly well in the network marketing niche, you're going to find that time and time again, 90% of what they talk about is not technical stuff. It's concepts, it's strategies, it's mindsets, right? For example, one of the things with myself that I've always talked about is how principles are more important than direct strategies. And the reason why I say that isn't because strategies aren't important, and it's not because we're not going to go over strategies today. We are. The reason is because strategies always change. They always change. One week, the best strategy is, inviting your friends and family over to your house for a dinner party and wheeling out an Amway whiteboard. Well, that was great back in 1972. Fast forward a few years later, and direct mail's working really hot, right? And then a few years later, it's not, and then it is again, right? So every time culture shifts through technology, through what's popular, the strategies are going to change a little bit. Anytime a new regulation is created by the government that controls our industry, well, the strategies are going to change a little bit. So it's important to understand that when you're out there building a business, that if you understand the concepts and the strategies and the mindsets, in addition to understanding strategies, then when things change, you can adapt instantly and alter your behavior along with what's going on in the world. And when you do that, you can move with the waves. And I don't know if that makes sense to everybody on the call, but I'm just telling you that there's a lot less to being a lot more successful than you are now than you could imagine if you're just willing to be principle-centered, if you're willing to outwork your competition, and if you're willing to out-create everyone around you and apply these concepts you learned tonight. It will make a difference in your business. It'll make a difference in your income. And we've got some great people speaking tonight. So we're going to start it off with Kelly Williams, and we're going to move on to Aaron Rashkin, and we're going to then go to Nick Bramble. Dave Sharp's going to come in about halfway through this webinar, leave some commentary and thoughts probably closer to the end. And I'm going to introduce them each in turn. They're all going to be teaching on different subjects. All of these guys on the call have all made a lot of money. Now, I don't actually know how much Kelly's made because he's a little more quiet about it. I know Nick's made more than $100,000 in a month before. He's made here at Empower Network over $60,000. In fact, everybody on the call tonight is in the top 10 earners in Empower Network, and they're all really good at selling, recruiting, keeping teams around, and keeping influence with people for a long time. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Kelly. Kelly is somebody that... Funny story about Kelly, actually. I met Kelly, of course, with the launch of Empower Network. Had never talked to him before that. Before I talked to Kelly, if we go back in time to the time I started on the internet, he was one of the first people I ran on the internet. This is back in the days when Google PPC was really big, but it was kind of coming to its end. I had never done a lot of PPC, and of course, when I started on the internet, I had no money. So I got on the internet, and I was looking for how can a homeless guy market? So I was searching online for homeless marketing. That's actually what I looked up, and I ran across this little book that was called Bum Marketing. And this book talked about another homeless guy that started making $3,000 a month on the internet by writing articles. So I said, well, if another homeless guy did it, I'm homeless, I can do it. And I started writing articles. So what I would do when I wrote articles, I didn't know how to do keyword research, is I would just think of things that I was interested in looking for. So I'd say, well, if I was in Amway, what would I be looking for? Or if I was thinking of getting an Amway, what would I be thinking of looking for? And then what I would do is I would do a little Google search, and it would pull up a bunch of articles, and I'd say, well, Amway scam, and I'd look up Amway scam. And then what I would do is I would look at who was advertising for the keywords I was looking for, because chances are if somebody appeared everywhere on the ad networks that they were getting a lot of traffic, and if I wrote an article about that person who was targeting the keyword that I was thinking about targeting in the search, well, then I would get some traffic from them as well. So I actually wrote an article about Kelly, about his little Pajama Commute website. I think I made a little video about him, and the video might even still be on YouTube. I should look at that and make sure it's all positive. But I think I said, is Kelly Williams a scam? I said no, he's a great guy, and I edified him. But I really thought his site was different. He had this thing called the Pajama Commute out at the time. It was a really family-oriented website, really focused around his kids and some of the stories and some of the background that he's had. And the interesting thing is now 2.5 years later, I'm actually going to meet this guy. I think he was one of the first people I wrote an article about, and it turns out that everything I thought when I went to his website was true and more. He's owned network marketing companies that have brought in hundreds of people a day internationally. I believe he's owned financial service companies. Very family-oriented guy. Very, very close to his faith. Everybody here's got different beliefs, and Kelly is just very strong in his faith. So he's one of the only guys I'm around him. I kind of avoid cussing and things, and so when you're around Kelly, you just tone that down. Just Dad, he won't judge you, but he'll say, let me tell you what leaders do. They don't cuss. But he's also just a great guy. He's got a great heart, and he's got a great concern for the community. He's got a great belief in people, and he's got a lot of great knowledge. So without any further ado, this is Kelly Williams. Kelly, I just turned it over to you, so you should be able to grab the screen. Now, appreciate you, buddy, and I'm looking forward to helping you do even bigger things and bringing your knowledge in here and seeing what you can teach all of us. So thanks for coming on board tonight.
You are welcome, and I'm honored. Can you hear me okay, Dave? All right, well, wonderful. Well, I appreciate that introduction, and what's interesting is, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but my son one day was doing some research online. He said, there's this Dave Wood guy that's did an article on you. And I said, oh, really? And, and so I went and looked at it, and it was very, very positive. So I didn't, call him or say, hey, you're a jerk or anything like that. But nonetheless, it was very, very tasteful article that he did. And, hopefully he got a few leads out of it when he was getting rolling. But nonetheless, I'm really honored to be on the webinar this evening, be able to share with you what, just some ideas, some thoughts that maybe you can consider that have ultimately led to what I would consider our success over the time that I've been involved, not only online, but also offline. And hopefully you understand that in the course of your journey of trying to find success, that you grab different nuggets, and that's really what we're all about. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about Empower Network is everybody's willing to share little golden nuggets with you, and so hopefully you'll get some of those from the things I'm able to share with you tonight. But what I want to hopefully get you in the mindset of tonight is that it's your choice, and I'll kind of explain what I mean, because most of you, when you get started online, what do you normally see? This is what you are going to see. You're going to be searching online, and there's so many things out there that kind of feed into your greed, which is fine. The fancy cars, the big homes, and so forth, and that's ultimately what you're exposed to. And I was no different when I got started 4 years ago or so. And so you're kind of sorting through all of that. Let's see, Dave, I don't know if you want to mute your microphone or... No, that's fine. I just kept hearing something. I thought, well, maybe that's me. But anyway, so most of you are probably familiar. You do any kind of searching online, and you're going to bump up with this program and this system and this and that and the other. And I was no different when I got started online. And there's nothing wrong with showing what somebody can ultimately achieve, but the reality of it's really, this is what happens. Is you come with this idea that, gee, I want to learn how to market online, and pretty soon you're just bombarded with the reality of it, and it'd be very, very frustrating, very, very confusing for most. And it was no different for me when I got started. Just like we've said before, I didn't come to online marketing with this list, but I will say that I came with something, and I'll share with you in just a minute what that was. But nonetheless, it can be very, very frustrating, very, very confusing. That's another thing that I love about what Empower Network offers, is the fact that everything that we do is focused on at least eliminating some of that confusion and frustration that's going to occur, as you get going. I can't tell you the number of nights that I've spent through the night when I first got started to learn all of this. In fact, in my case, my first package that I bought was a package offered by Armin Morin, and many of you may know of or have heard of him, and he's made millions of dollars online. Anyway, I bought this course, and it was $1,995, if I can remember. That was my first course, so that was my first taste, and it was actually a hard copy. This came, and it was literally 900-page manual, and I remember thinking, oh, holy smokes, how am I going to do this? Because I had my primary business was a financial services company, but nonetheless, I got through that. But the reality was, this is what I'm showing you. It can be very, very frustrating, very, very confusing. And so what really then ends up being the ticket between the person who is always chasing the dollar or those who are raking it in? Because there is a difference. And that difference really begins with you. And it wasn't until in my life, and this happened early on, one of my goals in life was always to be in business for myself by the time I was 29. And I got my college degree, I did all of that, and fortunately for me, a window opened, and I took it. And this was when I was 20, or my goal was to be in business by the time I was 30, and I took it when I was 29. And since that time, I've pretty much been in business for myself. But the reason why I say the difference between the person who's chasing the dollars and those who end up raking it in are those who make the decision to rake it in. And let me just kind of backtrack and just kind of maybe give you a synopsis of my story, because I don't want to get into the great detail, because we don't have that much time. But this was back in I can't remember the year. It was I started my first business that I ever did was a brick and mortar business, Subway sandwich franchise, and we ended up owning 7 Subway sandwich franchises. Ended up selling those, and then a good friend of mine introduced me to the financial services arena and said, you know what, you ought to try your hand at financial services. And at that time I thought, well, yeah, I could do that. There was always been an interest. In fact, one of my my minor degree in college was in finance, so I thought, you know what, there could be some interest. And I was extremely excited to get going, got my licenses, and their method of marketing was to go knock on doors. And so you'd set up this office, and many of you heard this story if you've been on my team, or if you're on my team, and so you would knock on doors, and you would collect names that you could ultimately go back to and introduce an investment or invite them to a seminar or whatever the case may be. And I was so eager and so excited, because we did all these role playings. Remember, this is 3 months worth of training and getting my licenses, and I was in a small community just north of Salt Lake City, community of about 10,000 people. I had my office, had a little assistant, but I wasn't making any money. I mean, I had a real small pittance, if you will, of a salary. But I hopped out of my car, eager to get going. 9 o'clock in the morning in the month of July here in Utah, and the temperature was already in the 90s, and I knocked on my very first door, and with my little notepad in hand, my suit, and I looked extremely sharp. I was pumped. Knocked on the door, and the woman wouldn't even let me say my name. before she said, not interested. And I felt like a slug on the ground. I felt like I'm the biggest idiot. I can't believe at this point I was 39 years old, and this is where my life has come to, that I'm knocking on doors for my living. At that moment, I felt like every eyeball in the neighborhood was looking at me, and I thought, I'm an idiot. I crawled back to my car, which was parked around the corner, and I sat in my car, and then I just kind of started up, and I said, this just isn't for me. And I started to pull away, and as I'm driving away, I just the thought came to me. So thought number one was, I'm an idiot. I can't do this. Why would I ever think I could do this? Thought number two hit, and thought number two came and said, what are you going to tell your wife if? And so all of a sudden I'm battling, and then another overwhelming thought came, and that was, if you don't get out of your car and knock on doors, you will be letting yourself down, and you'll be letting your family down. And so I didn't immediately pull over, because I thought, well, I'm going to pick out a different neighborhood to get started on. And I pulled over, and I started knocking on doors. And I knocked on doors for the next 7 months, from 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. And I would not go home until I had 35 names on a list of people, their name, their phone number, and I already had their address because I would write it down as I'm walking away from their home. I would not go home until I had 35 names on that list. So I was list building. A little bit different than, we have the ability now to list build, but I was list building. And I did that, like I said, for 7 months. And I remember driving away that very first night with this overwhelming, yes, it was still hard to get out of the car, okay, every day, but as I was driving away, I remember thinking, and remember, the biggest battle we have in this life is in our heads, but I remember thinking, I will be successful at this because I am doing what most people would not do. And so that period, that ultimate decision that I made that day to either keep driving home and face, my wife and say, sorry, honey, I wasn't cut out for this, or making the decision to get out and knock on doors and build my business. The money didn't all of a sudden flood in, by the way. However, this is what ultimately happened by making the decision to get out of my car and take action and do what most people wouldn't do. Is when I sold my practice to get involved with, online marketing, if you will, and I didn't sell it until after, I had a solid income, which was surpassing what I was making. We sold our financial services practice. We had 9 other advisors, 4 offices in 3 different states under our umbrella, and it all started by me making that decision to get out of the door. And we were managing over $300 million in assets. And so from that moment on, I recognized all I needed to do to be successful in life was make a decision to be so and commit myself to be that. And so ultimately what happened is I used that same mindset and philosophy when I got involved in online marketing. Sure, there's a lot to learn, but guess what? We all come equipped with the same thing, and that's called our brain. And here we're surrounded by wonderful people who really are willing to give back and help you. So now you've surrounded yourself, of course, with very, very powerful influences and people that in essence you're rubbing shoulders with, that can help you become successful in life and online. But the decision has to be yours. And so ultimately what happened is, when I got involved in online marketing, and once again, this is about 4 years or so ago, and I'm not going to tell you who my sponsor was, because I don't want to embarrass him, but to be honest, the best thing he ever did for me, and this was the first program I did online, was he did absolutely nothing for me. And when I say that, I mean he didn't make calls. He didn't pick up the phone even and make calls for me. He didn't do any of that stuff. In fact, he didn't send me, this guideline of what to do and all of this other stuff. I think the only thing I ever got was maybe a simple email. And but what it did is it drove me to become successful, and ultimately I became a good observer, and I dug in and I used my brain, and I realized I could learn and I could apply what it would take to become successful online. So oftentimes what happens is, because you see other people become successful online, you think there's this magic wand to that, and hey, they've tapped into this secret. Okay, the secret is this. All I have to do is this, and this, and I'm going to be successful. No, it's a decision, and it's a commitment first and foremost. And so, in my case, what ultimately happened was I was focused, and I spent hours after hours, even as I was working a full-time job, to learn how to do it and how to apply myself. But there was no looking back. Number one, when I stepped through the door that I wanted to build an online business, I didn't look back. I focused and pushed forward. And I would guarantee you, if you talk to anybody who's been successful online, they will tell you exactly the same thing. It wasn't that, aha, a light bulb went on and I found the secret. What it was they were committed to keep moving and moving forward until all of a sudden they got it. And they learned different strategies and different marketing methods and so forth. And so to me, if someone asked me, well, what do you think are the keys to your success and any kind of success online, I would boil it down to these three. Number one, choose to be. In other words, we could show you everything there is to do, from blog, daily, do all of this, and obviously with Empower Network they've simplified some of the processes, but there's more to that. You've got to do more than that. And one of the things, if you notice with the Empower Network and the simple 3 steps, it says blog daily, invite others, and then go to the bank or cash your check or whatever. And so but what you don't realize is you have to invite others. Well, how do I invite others? Well, there's multiple ways, but you have to commit yourself to do what it takes, and you can choose to be successful. And like I said, anybody that you will talk to and interview, they will say there was no looking back. I didn't look back. I didn't look back at my failures and say I can't succeed at this because, gee, I've failed at 15 other things. You can become successful. And number 2 is you need to learn how to connect with others. Whether you're selling a $25 blogging system or a $20,000 wealth building seminar in the Bahamas, you can learn some strategies and also learn how to do that through something else that I would refer to called being a leader. And so once again, the 3 things would be choose to be, connect with others, and be a leader. And let me talk about real quickly the value of connecting with others. And when I say others, I'm talking about you need to learn how to allow people to connect with you as well. And so with Empower Network, and also with the products that are being offered, you have that ability. But how many people really choose to do that and be involved and allow other people to actually help them? Most people get involved with either a direct sell marketing concept, and their whole goal in life is this: if I can just find that one big fish, and they're going to just push me to all glory and bring in all hordes of people, and I'm going to be successful and wealthy. Well, that doesn't happen. you've got to be that person first. And so how can you do that? Well, number one, you allow people to connect with you, and you do it through the processes that are being taught, and learn how to do that. Learn how to open up. Most people will not want to buy from you, or everybody is looking to sell, but until someone comes to know, like, and trust you, they won't. So how can you do that? Well, you plug in and you learn some of the systems. You learn how to open up and allow people to connect with you. In fact, if you watch David Wood's first boot camp, and he said, you've got to be able to pick up the phone still. And most people, until they make that connection, you really won't be able to go anywhere. Even if you're online marketing, the likelihood is how many hordes of people are going to be coming to you and buying from you? They won't until they come to know, like, and trust and connect with you. And so I would say, number two, learn how to connect with others, both leaders as well as others that you may want to bring in and be customers of yours, or connect with you in terms of then becoming a leader to your group. My philosophy has always been this as well, and that is, if you have one person on your team or 500, you are a leader. So you've got to make a decision to become a leader. And one just final story, just to kind of reiterate that, and then we'll just wrap this up. And that is this. I had a call the other day from a gentleman, and he basically has kind of followed me, over the years, and he had heard about, my involvement with the Power Network, and loved the fact that it was this tool and this training, and just loved the whole movement of what's happening. He was so excited, and he said, you know what, I want to hook up. And literally he spent 45 minutes while I listened, while he told me every reason why he was going to be successful in his business. And he was excited to be able to align himself with me and connect with me and so on. So I just listened this whole time, and told me, as he proceeded to tell me how successful he was going to be, he was going to be an A1 number leader, number one on the team, and so forth. And then at the end, I asked him, I said, have you gone through the site? And he said yes. And then I said, well, okay, my recommendation would be this, is what you have just told me, you need to get all of the products. And he said, what do you mean all the products? Yeah, you should. I mean, we're talking about exploding your business and having you grow and become a leader. Well, leaders, they jump in with both feet, and I want you to jump in with both feet. Well, I thought it was just a one-time $25. No, it's $25 a month, and then they have 3 other products. Well, he stopped at that moment. Said, what is 25? It's not just $25 one time? It's $25 a month? And I said, yes. And all of a sudden, the whole tone changed. And this leader, who was going to be the leader, of the universe, ended up fading away, and I haven't heard a thing from him since. And so, in conclusion, I just want to reiterate these. You have a choice. And the choice is this: choose to be successful. Don't look back. Don't look back at all the things you have not been successful at, or as successful as you would like to have been. Forget about those and just focus and move forward, and then align yourself with people who are willing to get in the trenches and help you be successful, and then take action. Don't sit back and think, gee, all of a sudden I'm going to learn some little technique and it's going to explode for you. You have to keep acting. You have to keep trying. You have to keep, pressing forward. Learn and apply. Learn and apply. Learn and apply. And guess what's going to happen? Great things will happen to you. But connect with others. Allow other people to connect with you. And once I learned that, meaning I was able to open up and allow people to get to know me, guess what? I then attracted other people like me. And then the rewards actually became more so than just money. It became relationships that you developed. and then choose to be a leader and jump with both feet in. And if that means, hey, I have to do a conference call. I remember doing my very first conference call, and it was after about 2 weeks, and I just thought, I've got to be a leader. And I did a conference call, and there was one other person on the line. And I knew it. I didn't know if they knew it, but I pretended there was 100. And then, when I'd ask people, if they had questions, I'd basically say, well, these are some prior questions that we've had asked. And so I would just kind of say, and because the one person was never asking any questions, well, guess what? That one turned into 15, then to 15 to 50 to 100, where there's been sometimes I've had a conference call where there's been near 200 people on. And so the key is choose to be successful, connect with others, choose to be a leader, and then become a leader, and great things will happen to you. We're no different. Anybody that you're going to talk to who has been successful has gone through this same process, but it starts with a decision made by you. So with that said, David, I am going to turn it back over to you, and hopefully you can still hear me.
Here, man, and great stuff. I want to just real quick. I appreciate you, man. It's great having you on, and you really do represent a different side of people who are in Empower Network, and there are a lot of people, who are involved in the company who are have these massively successful backgrounds. But I remember back in 2002, I was just coming back from a trip to Europe and moved down to Arizona, and I was trying to find work, and I couldn't get a good job because I didn't have a college education. I didn't have any contacts. I didn't have any resources. I had no money. I had no nice car. I was living with my brother, temporarily sleeping on his floor, and nobody would hire me. I went through a couple telemarketing jobs and kept getting fired from them because really I was just there looking for other jobs before and after. And then finally, I discovered that door-to-door salespeople would hire anyone, and that was a little different from what you did because you were doing the financial services. But I discovered that you could sell door-to-door, and there was no background checks or reference checks. They just kind of give you a little kit and say go for it. And so I got a job as selling alarms door to door. So I just I feel for you in walking door to door. Sometimes you go 9 or 10 or 11 hours straight, and everybody hates your guts that day, and you just got to figure out a way to do it. And a lot of people, they get involved in this, and first time they get slapped a little bit, they quit. And I remember a time, Kelly, you'll appreciate this, where I hadn't paid rent. I'd moved out. I'd made a little bit of money, not much. I was eating canned beans and Amway products, I think, at the time. And because the Amway products were all I could afford, right? And so I'm walking door to door, and I'm late on my rent, 5 days, and I start avoiding the rent manager, and then I'm late a week, and then I'm late a week and a half, and then I'm late 2 weeks, and then she says, look, we finally started talking, I took up the guts. I said, hey, look, give me a little bit. And then finally, it was the last day. The next day, I was going to get kicked out, of my apartment and be sleeping in my car trying to sell things door to door. So that would have been interesting. And so something came up inside of me, and I said, I got to make this happen. I had no money. I was eating, I was down to no food but ramen noodles, 21 years old. And I got up. I went to a neighborhood at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning, started knocking on doors till midnight, and I made $3,500 that day. And all it was a decision. Now, this is not nearly as difficult as that was, but the point is that you've got to decide. Something has got to come over you where you stop taking excuses for things that you can control. And if it's happening to you, you can control it. And it's that decision that makes the difference. It's not a technique and it's not a strategy. It's that decision, because something happens when you look in somebody's eyes and maybe they give you the same crap they gave you yesterday, but they look in your eyes, and this day it's different. And you look at them back and you say, "Don't be a wussy, just get."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the truth. I remember knocking on doors, and it's after my first week thinking, am I ever going to make a dime at this? But all of a sudden, like you said, you just keep pressing forward. And I remember, just like you said, there were people who were rude to me, but I decided I was going to turn the table on these people. So I would every third day I would go to the nearest bakery, and I actually worked out a deal with one of the bakeries, and they would just give me these tiny loaves of bread that were freshly baked, and they were tiny, and I'd get 100, 200 of these every 3 or 4 days, and I'd go back to the people, both the people who were nice and then the people who were on my list, but then also the people who were rude to me. I would go back and I'd say, you know what, you had your choice to be nice to me or rude. I just wanted to say, hey, you took some time with me, and they'd look at me like, whoa, I think I was on the rude category. Well, some of those people became clients because I kind of thought out of the box and said, you know what, I'm just going to do something different. And just like you said, I think sometimes thoughts that we have will trigger us, and as we make that decision, great things will happen. Even though we don't know what the outcome is, we can control those actions that lead to that.
That's it, man. Well, I appreciate you. And everybody, I'd say give them a hand, but of course you're all in your houses, so you could clap for Kelly there. And I'm gonna mute you out, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing, and we'll get your
All
thoughts
right.
here at the
Hey,
end as well.
thanks.
You're taking off. You got to go, right? Because you got an appointment.
Yeah, yeah, I've got an appointment here. I appreciate it.
Busy man. Appreciate you, but next guy I'm gonna bring out he's a legend. I just call him the Rash because if I pronounce his full name, I'll keel over or die. But this is this is Aaron Rashkin. Aaron, he's one of these guys he's an archetype in the industry. He represents the badass, the alpha male, and it's interesting because he's huge and strong. But also, when you're around him, when he talks, everyone just shuts up, and it's really fascinating though, watching somebody who has a real presence with people, because when you're around Aaron, it's really fascinating watching people's behavior, because even people who don't know him, they just kind of look at him when he's walking by. They kind of turn and they look at him, men and women too. They just kind of look at him when he's walking by, and he says hello, and everybody just kind of turns. And I remember we won this. We won a spot in the top 10 in this competition. We were selling this Mike Dillard product, and Aaron was in the top 10, and I was in the top 10. And I remember everywhere I saw Aaron, there was like a group of people sitting around in chairs just staring at him, and he was talking every time. I mean, I was upstairs, and there was a bunch of people, random people standing around, and then I jumped in the water, and I went down a water slide. I came back up, and then I walked downstairs to go grab some food, and he's sitting there in a chair talking, and there's like 15 people standing around. So I went there, and I just kind of listened in and just sat around for a while. And there's a reason for it. The reason is because Aaron's got a lot of wisdom. He's the #1 producer inside the largest top-tier company on the internet. And he's probably cracking up in the background there. But he's the #1 guy there, and he's done millions of dollars in sales, and he knows a lot about selling. He knows a lot about selling on the phone. I actually recommend people, find some of his training, track him down, listen to some of the stuff he says, because if you are having problems prospecting, getting people involved, selling, he can help. He's good. So that being said, I'm not poking fun. I'm just making fun of the man, the myth, the legend, Aaron Rashkin here. Over to you, buddy.
Yeah, how you doing, Dave? How's it going tonight?
Doing great, man. You rock, man. Great to have you in Empower Network, by the way, and it's always good to hear your training. But then I'll just turn it over to you. I think I gave you the screen, maybe not. Hold on a second. Give you the screen.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here, and looking forward to sharing tonight. But yeah, I remember that. It was actually the Irresistible Blueprint product that Mark Hoverson created that I think you and I actually came in. You beat me by a few sales last minute. I think you probably pulled some of those wood-like tactics and just kind of did a landslide on me last minute. 12th hour, it was just all over for me. But it was great to spend time with you. I know I saw you at the No Excuses event earlier that year. If you remember, I was wearing that 3-piece suit, and you were strolling in your flip-flops and I Love MLM T-shirt. It was quite the comedy, actually. We had quite a blast. So yeah, we're like the frickin' fracker, like total like contradictive antithesis of multi-level and network marketing. But it's so funny because after we spent some time together, I threw my suits out. I said, I'm never wearing another tie again, man. Yeah, well, they've been hanging in the closet for quite a while now. So I think I'm going a little bit more rogue these days, and man, it's just great to be here, and I'm just super proud to be a part of the Empower Network. And you know what? I just realized I better plug my computer in, or else we're going to wind up losing battery here. All right, there we go. All right, can you see my screen, Dave? All right, sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and get going here. Anyway, I want to say hello to everybody out there. I know that there's thousands of people, whether they're watching live or going to be watching this here shortly. I just wanted to, say hello. Very, very excited to be a part of Empower Network. Met David Wood really for the first time at that event that we were just talking about, and I knew that we would work together someday, and had no idea about the Empower Network until just right before it launched, and wound up watching for a while, what seemed like an eternity. I was actually watching for about the first week. I soon came to find out that most of my team was already in the Empower Network, so it wasn't like I just went to the well. I actually had to do a little bit of marketing to grow, mine and my wife's business. So let me do this. I'm going to get going here. I want to make sure that you guys can all see what I've got on the screen. Okay. Well, first and foremost, this is my family. This is my wife, Sophia, and our 2 boys, Carter, who's now 11, and Legend, who thinks he's 11, but he turns 4 in a couple months. And I've been around the industry for a long time. Dave mentioned I've been in the industry for many years. I've actually this is my 19th year in home-based business and network marketing. I have a background. I was a personal trainer. I worked in the gyms, and it all kind of started when I broke my back in high school, and I learned how to lift weights and take better care of my body, and I just got really addicted to that look good, feel good, have more energy type thing. And I wound up becoming a trainer after rehabbing my back and learning how to lift weights properly and use good health and wellness and nutrition to really stave off some of the challenges that I was dealing with, having a broken back when I was a sophomore in high school. And I was an athlete, so I was very, very committed to the regimen. I was committed to the workouts and to my nutrition and diet, and I just, I'm very disciplined. I know that discipline is doing the exact opposite of what's easier to do. And when you do it long enough, it becomes easy. It's kind of like doing the uncomfortable until it becomes comfortable. And, that's pretty much how I live my life. And this is what we do to develop, these $1 million habits. And so, these are my wife and kids, and they're my why. And truth is that when your why is big enough, the how part takes care of itself. Let me say that again. When the why is big enough, when your why is big enough, the how part takes care of itself. And I've always wanted to, be able to take care of my wife and kids, and because they're the most important people in my life. They're everything to me, and I want to be able to spend as much time with them as possible. Wake up in the morning when we're done sleeping. We have breakfast every morning. Our 11-year-old Carter and our 3-year-old Legend. And we do breakfast every morning, whether it's eggs or pancakes or cereal or whatever it is. We get up every morning. Sophia's usually in the kitchen first cooking breakfast for us, and we get to spend the mornings together. And we get our kids off to school, and we have a full-time nanny who's probably she's over here. She spends a lot of time with us, but she's paid to come in the morning and make sure that all the housework and chores are done, and she takes care of our office. We just bought our next door neighbor's house. It's over here, and we turned it into a full-blown office. We have theater seating and big screen TVs and conference tables with all these beautiful leather chairs. It's awesome. We've been able to live the life because we chose, just like you heard Kelly talk about a few minutes ago. We chose to be successful. And when Sophia and I first met, about 7.5 years ago, back in May of 2004, we realized we wanted to spend our lives together, but we also realized that we wanted to spend our lives with our children and have a family. And so this is why we fought for our freedom, and the things that we do today are the same things that we did, 7, almost 8 years ago now. In other words, the principles, the core principles, the basics never change. So that being said, let me move on here. As you can see, this is why I do what I do every day, is I fight for the freedom of myself and my wife and kids. And it's not just them, they're not the only part of our family. We also have, our team. We have, starting with our business development coach, this is one of my closest friends and business partners, and he's actually the coach of our team. He was our personal assistant for a long time. His name's Dave. And this is our team. These are my parents, my mama, my second dad, Dave. My dad's not on here. But these are some of my closest friends. And no, this is not Toby Black. I swear to you, that's really not him. So I know some of you know Toby, and I only know Toby from meeting him one time, and I'm so impressed with he and Layla, and they're just awesome people. But we always joke around. We say that our friend Morgan, who's on our team, looks just like Toby with a haircut. So, but this is our team. These are the people that we've worked with for years. My good friend Josh, and there's just so many awesome people on here. Corey and Jason, and I could sit here for hours. Per Gunner. Here's an interesting story. Here's a guy that barely spoke English when we met. Lived in a third world country. Well, I wouldn't say it's third world. It's Norway. Sorry if I offend any of you Scandinavians, but I was in a hospital there, and boy, was that something else. But he didn't speak English very well. It was his third language, bankrupting his company, single dad, divorced, 3 kids, didn't have a whole lot of money, and went on to become a 7-figure earner working directly with us. And here's our friend Jerry. I remember what he said to me in his little timid voice. He said, "Hey, do you think you could teach me this stuff?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. Can you learn it?" And next thing I know, he's making multiple 6 figures, and we can talk forever about all the stuff. But what's important is that they're our family, and we know that their success is our future. So just wanted to share a little bit about them. My topics tonight, let me go back to my original slide: copywriting, prospecting, connecting, and closing. First of all, let me get a show of hands here. Let me know if this is some information that you think you would like to actually, learn about tonight, because I think that's the most important thing is, would you like to know about copywriting, prospecting, connecting, and closing? Go by show of hands here. Okay, good. Hundreds of hands are going up. You guys are flashing them, waving them all over the place. Awesome stuff. Let me go ahead and move my screen around again for just a quick second. And let me jump right into it then. So let's just talk, copywriting is mainly the use of words to convey a message, to tell a story, teach a lesson, or what's called a call to action. You might have seen this before. It's also, you may have seen the call letters for it. It's just simply CTA, call to action, right? Words that tell, compel, and most importantly, sell. And that's why we're here in business, is to sell things. We just happen to have some incredible products and services here with Empower Network, so it's not that hard to sell because of the power of the funnel. Dave Sharp, Dave Wood, these guys are masters at what they do. This is what attracted me to them, and just so proud to be on the same side as the internet with them, I guess we can say. So here's what's important. Good copywriting results in these things: more traffic, right? More leads, and sales, and a lot of sales, especially with the conversions going on inside Empower Network. Okay, so you want to write good copy for 2 things: paid advertising, okay, and you saw my wife Sophia and a bunch of the other leaders here in the Empower Network talk about paid advertising. I saw Jamie Soriano, and he talked about solo ads, and I saw a bunch of these different leaders talking about paid advertising. And then there's free and low cost marketing, which we learned about in the first several webinars of the 15K formula, from content creation, social media, syndication, using spin and syndication tools that actually spit your content out all over the internet and create this giant web so that you can capture people who are roaming around the internet looking for the things that you're writing about. It's a perfect message to market match. Okay, so it's important that you understand that good copywriting is important for paid advertising. Oops, that wasn't going to work. We'll take you on a little spin there. Paid advertising, right? And free and low cost marketing. Super important to keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to tell you exactly what these types of advertising and marketing are. Okay, so what I call front of the house advertising and marketing, okay, front of the house, meaning, this is what you get people. Now I'm going to draw a quick funnel here. Let's just say that this is our little, mini funnel here, okay, and we want to get people into the funnel at the top. This is called front of the house, or top of the funnel marketing and advertising, right? You got pay-per-click, banner ads, right? Text ads if you're going to be advertising Facebook, Google, Bing, any one of the big 3 search engines where most of the people are hanging out doing, whether it's social media, connecting, communicating, or looking for things, right? These are the biggest databases in the world right here. These are the biggest information databases in the world. So you have, all sorts of PPC advertising, right? Then you have solo ads, right? Then there's, blogging. Now you could have a free blog. You could do, some kind of a free blog. There's a lot of stuff out there. But in our business, you get paid, or should I say you get what you pay for. So, WordPress.org for your online home, obviously your Empower Network blog, WordPress theme, all the plugins, all the SEO tools, all the bells and whistles, all the conversion, banners built into it. Doesn't get any better than that. Okay? Then you've got press releases, right? You can do a free press release at prwire.com, or you can do one at 24-7pressrelease.com. But I prefer to do the paid ones. There's a $50 press release at 24-7pressrelease.com, because what that does is it gives you all the listings where your content, your press release is actually posted, and then you can use that for social proof. And we'll talk a little bit more about that down the road. Or down the road in our presentation here tonight, my overview. Okay, so you got paid advertising. Then there's article marketing. Primarily it's free. It's your ideas, your content, and then you go out there, you put it up on article distribution sites like Ezine Articles or Article Base or Go Articles, and then you can spit it out all over the place. You can use Traffic Geyser to get articles out there, or you can use any one of the numerous tools that were discussed in some of the earlier webinars here with the 15K formula. But for the most part, they're free, and then you just pay for the tools. Usually they go by a month, by monthly or yearly payments. But the key is that you get this content out there. Okay? Then you've got social media, right, like Facebook, okay, Twitter, LinkedIn, right, social bookmarking, anywhere where you can do a status update. Okay? This is all designed to either get traffic or even brand you, so people are compelled to ask what you do, check out your profile, find your links, and opt in. Okay, it's very, very low cost or free. And then you've got, commenting to other people's posts. The more interesting comments you make, and typically, I'm going to talk about this a little bit further down in my prezo tonight, but you want to be more interested in other people than interesting. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself because this is more of my contacting or my prospecting, connecting, and closing segment tonight, but you want to be more interested than interesting, and what that does is it makes you more interesting. Okay, let me say that again. You want to be more interested than interesting, and that will make you more interesting. It's kind of like, doing the right thing over the profitable thing, and then the right things become very profitable. Okay, that's just long-term thinking. That's vision thinking. Okay. Then you have tweeting, right, using Twitter and so forth. And these are free, pretty much, very low cost unless you buy, some kind of a tweeting tool, or, you go and you invest a little bit more in some of the Twitter tools that will obviously do more things for your tweets. And, again, we're not going to get into all that detail here because this is not what that's about. You want to go back and watch some of the other webinars and videos on the 15K formula. We don't have time for all of it. Plus, all the guys and gals here in this community are just so powerful in how they've, teach or what they've taught and how they train and use these tools themselves. I'm going to go back and watch all those myself again. So, okay. So that being said, let's go ahead and clear the deck here, and let's get back into copywriting. Copywriting skills influence all of these different things. Okay, they influence your impressions, right? How many times your pay-per-click advertisements or banners show up, right? Quality scores if you're on search engines. Click-through rates, this is called CTR. This is how many times your impression or your ad shows up, right, based on impressions. Okay, and then obviously click-through rates or CTRs will determine conversion rates at your landing page. This is your lead capture page, your opt-in page, your splash page, whatever you want to call it, where the person puts in their email, perhaps even their name, maybe even vice versa, or flip those around. I'll show you a little bit what you know, a lead capture form looks like, for those of you that don't know. But all of your, you know, all the parts of your business, all the metrics, all the scientific data, and these are things that over time you're going to get comfortable with and looking at, but ultimately it boils down to sales. Okay, and then you've got upgrades, add-ons, one-time offers, back-end sales, continuity, that's a membership, you know, where people are investing every month to get new, fresh, updated information, powerful. But copywriting influences all of this. Everything here is influenced by copywriting. So let's keep moving. So parts of your marketing that require good copywriting skills, right? Subjects, obviously, right? Subjects of blog posts, subjects of emails, right? Headlines on the pages, greetings in a subject, or should I say the content, titles, content body, calls to action, right? Bio boxes on some of your, you know, content distribution sites like eZine articles, or some of your press release sites if you're doing press releases, your about pages on your blogs or your websites. You know, there's so many different things and parts of your marketing that require good copywriting. But the bottom line is this: when you learn how to be an effective copywriter, you can be successful. Now, of course, all the copywriting is done here in our funnel with the Empower Network, because Dave Sharp is a master. David Wood is an expert at what he does in conversions, video marketing. You know, these guys are the best out there. Okay, which is why my wife and I came to this business, and we've brought hundreds and hundreds of people because they see what we see. The bottom line is this: you still want to learn copy. You still want to learn how to write. You still want to learn how to post. You still want to compel people to take action. Okay, no matter what it is, whether it's click on a link, right, fill in their name, email address, right, read your work, because your story is going to come out through your words. And so that's the bottom line, is that you've got to learn copy. Now, while I was looking for this image, I actually came across another bottom line photo. Here's this. How do you like this one, guys? Blogs will change your business. Now, this was posted back in, 2005, going back 6-7 years ago. But the truth is that we were ahead of the curve. We're early adapters. So if you think about it, I want to kind of give you a little example. Okay, if you're a surfer, right, and that's not a shark, it's a wave, right? Let's just say you're on your surfboard here, right? The only way to really catch the wave is to be in front of the wave. You got to be in front of it so that this thing can take you all the way to the beach. Now, if you're not paddling fast enough and you're just sitting idle and you're just watching everybody else produce the goals, reach their goals and produce the results and get the income, then you're back here behind the wave, kind of kicking in the water, and that's where the shark comes. And that's that you don't see them coming, but they're coming right for you. So you got to start paddling. The only way to catch a wave is to get in front of it. You got to paddle fast enough. You got to paddle fast as the wave, or else you're going to be behind it, and that's where you become shark bait. So blogs will change your business, but they don't just change them without you doing anything. You've got to get to work, and you've got to get to work like your life depended on it. Writing content, writing copy, driving traffic, talking to people, blogging every single day. People ask me all the time, why do you go to the gym every day? Why do I exercise every day? Well, first of all, I learned that the only days you should exercise are the days that you eat, because your body brings in calories, it's got to metabolize them. So I go to the gym every day. It's a habit. It's become a habit. You know what? It's where I do my social media. I write a lot of content. No, I'm not standing around typing in the corner of the gym. I'm doing it on a bike or something like that, or while I'm, on a treadmill or walking, or, doing some kind of workout. I'm sweating it up when I'm dripping it all over my cell phone. I'm sweating all over the place. But you know what? I knock it out, because that's called a $1 million habit. So getting into the habit of blogging at your Empower Network blog, so super important. I can't stress that enough. And obviously, this being, the Empower Network blog that we all have, guys, do you realize that there are hundreds of thousands of unique visitors every single day, every single week, every single month, and it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get bigger. The internet's not getting any smaller. There's only 1.5 billion people. There's still 6 billion people that are not even on the internet yet. What do you think is going to happen for those of you that are here and committed for the long term? Because it's not what you do that's going to make you successful. It's not what you do. It's what you do daily. I can't stress that enough. It's not what you do. It's what you do daily. Let me rewrite that. I can't even find a spot to write it on because this is just such, what an awesome blog here. He's got all the stuff in the right spot, so I'm drawn all over the place. But the point is that you've got to get to work. Get to work like your life depended on it, because I know in many cases it does. So let's keep moving here, gang. So let's talk a little bit more about copywriting. And let's see if we can get back to, let's see here. Okay, there we go. So let's talk about the types of marketing messages that are available. First of all, there's information messages. Okay, information is, you know, you talk about your company, you talk about your product, talked about your service, right? You want to talk about the $25 blogging service, right? They just had an awesome contest, you know, for whoever wrote the best, you know, blog post about, you know, the Empower Network and the viral blogging system here with the basic membership for $25. And, you know, so that's like information. You can write about information. You can write about education. You can teach people why it's important to have a viral blogging system and what does it mean to them and how is that useful, right? That's called teaching or training. And, you know, you position it as generic, right? And you just use some really good keyword-rich content, right? And that's called education. So you can write information, you can write an education. Here's promotion, right? You can talk about a bonus you're going to give away. You can talk about, you know, what your team training is like. If you have a team, if you're growing a team, if you're a part of a team, right? You can promote things, right? And you can promote your primary. Remember, you can use your Empower Network blog to write about your primary business. You know, talk about the weight loss, talk about the cell phones, talk about the information products, talk about the seminars, the conferences, you know, the community, all the support and training. You know, you can promote and you can educate and you can share information, okay? Or you can share inspiration. Write about your personal life. Write about your workout. Write about your persistence and you know, consistent effort to become successful in your career, in your profession, in your marketing. Right? So you can write about anything you want. Entertainment. We had an awesome wasabi showdown. For those of you that like sushi, we ate at a restaurant in Austin a couple summers ago, and we had I'm dead serious when I say this. The guy who won the contest ate a wasabi ball. It was this big. It was a golf ball. And we got it all on video. It's one of the funniest things ever. But I wrote an email out to all of our team and lists and all these leads and prospects that were looking at our business. And I literally said, if you want a good laugh, you got to watch this video. It was the Great Wasabi Showdown. And you know what? It got so much, you know, it got so much attention. People that love sushi, they thought it was hysterical. Now, yeah, we got a couple of nasty emails. I'll be honest with you. We got a couple of nasty ones from a few guys in Japan. I'm dead serious. I got some really nasty ones. I got a guy from England, UK, wrote me some funny stuff. And, you know, we chuckled and we had a good laugh about it. And we, you know, went back and forth with them for a few minutes. But, you know, you can write about whatever the hell you want to write about. That's the greatest thing about being a writer. It's you writing what's on your mind. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. Nobody's judging you because nobody judges. Well, we don't judge ourselves. So I can't say nobody does that. But I'll just say this. You don't have to feel bad about people. I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes, actually. So let's keep on moving here, gang. So who are you writing for? You know, you have to know your prospect. I'm going to write this down for you. Know your prospect better than you know your products. Okay? And I'm going to share with you this. First and foremost, who is your market? It's called a demographic. Okay, another fancy word is avatar, right? One of my favorite movies ever. I watched that movie 10 times when I was in the hospital in Norway last year. But avatar means who is the perfect prospect, you know, their age, you know, their occupation, or, you know, what kind of professional they are, or what their job is, what they do for a living, you know, what do they wear, what's their family like, what's their age, what do they like, what do they dislike, right? What do they do? Right? Are they in sales? Are they in marketing? Are they a librarian? Are they a school teacher? Do you know that music teachers are some of the best networkers in the world because they teach kids that never held an instrument before how to play something completely foreign to them, and they're so patient. They're very well known for their patience, music teachers, you know, instrument teachers. Guitar teachers, drum teachers, right? They teach people to use objects that they've never used before. So you have to know, who is your market? What do they do? What do they want? right? What do they want more than anything, but they can't have because of their present situation? That's the key. What do they want, and then what are their problems? Because we're going to talk about a little formula here called problem, agitation, solution. Problem, agitation, solution. Write this down. Okay, it's kind of like this. You know, you cut them open with a razor blade. You add alcohol to the cut, right? You pour your favorite bottle like Jim Beam or whatever into that thing, and man, does it sting, and then you give them a Band-Aid. Okay, that's the formula here. You cut them open, you add alcohol, you give them a Band-Aid. Problem, agitation, solution. When you write, okay, this is a great formula to pay attention to, because it really does, when you do it properly, it really speaks to the people that you're writing for. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, I take that back. It doesn't make sense. It makes dollars. Lots and lots and lots of dollars. Look at what's gone on here in the last 90 days, right? $3 million payout in 90 days. Where's that done? I know companies that have been around for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, even older than I am, that didn't start out in their first 3 months paying out $3 million to their affiliates. Pretty remarkable here, gang. These guys know what they're doing, and this stuff works. You got to know who you're writing for. Literally sit down and brainstorm that. Let's keep moving. All right. Let's see here. So constructing your marketing message. These are the things you have to know. Now, I don't sit down unless I have something to write. I don't, sit down in front of the computer with a blank white page and go, okay, let me think about what I want to write today, because for me, I'm very inspirational. I like to just kind of, get ideas as I just go through life. I squeeze my business into my life. So if I see something going on, in a retail store, or I'm at the gym, or I'm with my kids, kids are a pretty amazing example of success. If you watch children, it's almost like, they weren't going to be denied when they fell down the first few times when they tried to walk. They may have had to hold on a little bit, but they said, no, I'm not giving up. I mean, how many adults do you know that are crawling around on their hands and knees that are able-bodied that could actually get up and stand? Well, nobody. Nobody does that. You never give up when you know that there's a whole world out there for you to see if you just get on your damn feet. So kids are a great example, but you have to know, okay? You have to know what you want to say when you sit down to write. In other words, have an idea. Construct your marketing message so you know exactly what you want to say. All right, how is your message going to benefit your market? Are you going to teach them? Are you going to educate them? Are you going to inspire them? Are you going to promote to them? Or are you going to tell them a funny story? Because that's a great way to connect with people, is sharing stories. We'll talk more about that in just a bit. And then, of course, at the end of your marketing message, what is the call to action? What is the outcome you're looking for? It's really important. Now, before I move on to my next slide, let me just share with you, here's what's important. You could sell, okay, or you can brand, right? There's all these different things that go on with your writing. There's so many different things going on with your writing. You could just come straight out and sell. People love to be sold. You know why? Because they want to buy. And they're watching you. If you have good copy, they are loving reading your stuff. Not only are they learning from it and probably saving it in a swipe file, or they're putting you into a folder, but they want to buy because your selling is effective. Your copywriting is good. And then there's also branding, because they may not buy right now, okay, because of whatever factor. Maybe it's just not the right time for them. They're just not ready yet. They're not comfortable yet. Maybe they haven't seen enough of you yet. But every word you write is creating your brand. So even if you don't sell right away, I'm going to talk about cycles of attention in a little bit, but even if you don't sell right away, even if people don't click the buy button today, you're promoting your brand, which means that they may buy tomorrow. And so it sometimes takes, several messages. There's a lot of people that do walkthroughs, they'll buy in the very first time, go right to the top, buy all the products, and that happens at every level, network marketing, multi-level marketing, top tier, direct sales. We're seeing it at every level, which is incredible. So even if they don't buy right away, you're still branding yourself. Every single word, every single paragraph, every single line, every single message, it counts. And this is an important part of the process here is knowing what you want to say so that when you sit down to write, it just flows out of you like Beethoven in front of the piano. It just kind of flows out of you. Watch David Wood on a video. It just flows. Sit down, watch David Sharp write a message. It just flows. Same way with all great copywriters, all great marketers. Their ideas just flow. Okay? So let's move on here. We got lots of ground to cover, gang. Hey, David Wood or David Sharp, I know I'm probably going to stretch out the time constraint on the call tonight, so I hope you guys are prepared for, a little bit longer with me and maybe with Kelly. Hopefully that's okay with you guys. Now, here's a way to really break down the process of knowing who your prospect is. It's called FORM, okay? Stands for family, occupation, recreation, and motivation, okay? These 4 letters right here, we live and die by FORM. And when we get on the phone with people, we're going to ask them questions that revolve around all 4 of these areas. Now, we may miss, one area, we may skip over it, but for the most part, we want to find out a little bit about each of these areas, and it doesn't go in this order. It may go 1, 2, 3, then 4, or, it could even go, 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't matter. It can come in any order, the natural progression of the conversation. But these are the 4 areas that you want to find out about people. Again, find out more about them than they find out about you. Okay, very, very important for you to understand that. Because it's not about you standing in the spotlight. It's about you standing behind the spotlight. Okay, very important. Authenticity. Be yourself. Write the way you speak. Nothing comes across more powerfully. Yep, I use that word, powerfully. I know it's kind of a mouthful there, getting the marbles out of your mouth, but powerfully, right? It's more powerful that you speak just like you write, and you write just like you speak. That way when you meet people, they don't go, wow, that didn't seem like you when I first spoke to you on the phone, because your writing was so different, right? So you want to just speak the words and write them on paper. However you think, you write. And you'll get better over time. Remember, the more your thinking changes, so will your writing. Okay, if you have to do a sound check, do it. Read quietly, read out loud, record yourself. I went through micro cassette recorders like toilet paper. Literally, it was just like I was burning those things out all the time. Getting to hear myself, getting to hear myself on recording. I hated it at first. Now I sound the same today as I think I did 10, 12, 15 years ago. But I'm okay with myself now. I got to that place of personal peace and power where I'm not so worried about what other people think of me anymore, and I'm not judging myself. That's something that is a whole other topic in itself. That's like a whole other 2-3 hour training and getting okay with you, being comfortable with yourself. Okay, but it's important that you listen for the natural progression of your message, and the question that you have to ask yourself is, would you continue reading if you received your own message? Okay, so becoming a great copywriter. These are my suggestions, and we're going to move into another subject. Write often. Okay, you want to write often. You want to make sure you're putting your thoughts in print, whether it's typing, whether it's writing using a computer, maybe a smartphone, like on my iPhone. I sit there all day when I'm at the gym, or if I'm, I get an idea when I'm out, I'll just jot it down. Right? Write often. Never leave your fortune or your future to your memory. It is so important to keep a file, notes, and pages of ideas, and then go back and expand on them. Okay? Read often. Right? Study successful marketers. Read books. Right? Read, e-zines. Read email marketing messages from some of the top, 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure marketers. They're out there, gang. People that have made $100 million in network marketing. I can think of several off the top of my head. Frank Kern, Eben Pagan, Rich Schefren. There's just so many out there. Matt Basak. God, I can sit here and ramble on. Probably Ryan Dice getting to 9 figures here shortly. But invest in books, courses, and coaching. Of course, after you buy everything that Empower Network has to offer, because not only do you want real live experiential knowledge from people that are in the field doing it every day. We know it works in our industry. It's very niche related, but we also want to maximize our compensation here in the Empower Network. We want to get paid and get paid for everything we deserve. So buy it all. I know you guys all bought the Costa Rica. If you're watching this and you haven't bought the Costa Rica, buy it. Buy everything. Go to the event. Whatever event's next, buy a ticket. Make a commitment. That's one thing I will say. Never miss an event. Because every event that you attend is like getting the next digit in the combination to unlocking your success. And some of you have combinations that are, 5 digits long. Maybe some of you have 6 or 8 or 10 digits. That's a lot of digits, gang. And you got to get in front of the people who are making it happen. That's how you make it happen. But these are all the important things. Invest in all the books, courses, and coaching, right? Get everything you can. Then you want to measure your responses, right? When you're writing, going back to writing, you want to split test, right? Really, split testing is basically just taking certain parts of your writing and then rewriting it so that it's, comparing some copy over here with a similar copy over here, and maybe one word is different in both of these headlines here. Or maybe the whole headline is different, right? You test headlines, you test videos, right? You test, images, you test all sorts of different things. But split testing your copywriting is to find out which one brings out the best response from your market. So it's real important to split test. Split testing headlines and email marketing, very, very powerful. Those types of things, shorter messages, longer messages, similar content, but just different length and so forth. And then again, back to writing off. And I said it first and I said it last because I know you'll remember it that way. Okay, so real important to remember these particular, copywriting suggestions. And now what I'm going to do again here, Dave, is it okay if I go on for a little bit longer? I still have some really good content here to share. And so, yep, go ahead, Dave. Okay, cool, man. I was just stalling. I wanted to open up a peach Snapple here. Hang on a sec. Okay, that was my halftime there, gang. All right, so we got a lot of ground to cover here. I'm going to actually go into a little bit of email marketing strategy because this is a bonus that I prepared for you guys. I think it's really important for you guys to get some real, concrete email marketing strategies. I wanted to provide as much for you as possible here. So real important, you may or may not have seen some of this stuff before. Chances are you haven't. So I'm going to go over them very quickly. There are 3 cardinal rules of marketing. Number 1, build a list. We're going to talk about how to build your list. Okay, there's all sorts of ways. You've been watching the 15K formula. You've been paying attention to all these webinars. There's so many ways to drive traffic. There's free, there's low cost, there's paid, there's PPC, there's banners, there's Web 2.0, social media, there's syndication, content, all the stuff, right? Blogging. Build your list however you can, right? And you don't have to do all of it, right? It's like if you go to a buffet, right, and there's, 100 different dishes in this buffet. Now, there's only like 10 or 12 right there, but imagine there was 100 different dishes on the buffet. Once in a while you may go check out, this one, and you may take a little bit of everything, but you really like probably 1, 2, maybe 3 things at most. Then you just go to town. You stuff yourself silly on just a couple, 2, 3 different dishes. That's how you want to build your list, right? You don't want to just be a jack of all trades. You want to be a master. Okay, a master of one. Okay, it's the difference between a shotgun and a rifle. If you take a shotgun and you want to go target hunting or target practice or hunting, whatever, you shoot that shotgun, the further distance from the gun that the shot travels, the weaker the impact is. So pick a couple, 2, 3 things at most and master it. Okay, that is like having the rifle, staring down the barrel of a huge rifle. That when that bullet hits its target, doesn't matter what it is, it destroys it. So focus on building a list. I cannot recommend that and stress that highly enough. Now, once you start with your list, once you start building your list, you want to build a relationship with your list, right? Start sending them automated follow-ups, broadcast messaging. Sophia, my wife, and I have generated, she's done most of the heavy lifting with the paid advertising. I do mostly social media and content creation. But Sophia's driven, probably in the neighborhood of, just a little over 100,000 leads through paid advertising. And granted, we don't know those people, but we started mailing them. right away. Literally, when we had 10 or 12 leads, I started broadcast messaging on top of my autoresponder messages, and we were building this relationship with them. And there's so much more to share here that I'm not going to get ahead of myself again, but you got to build a relationship. Send the birthday, or not their birthday message unless you have their birthday, but send a holiday message, right? Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Easter, right? Happy 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day. Build a relationship. Send messages. Tell them what you're doing. Hey, I'm watching this great, NFC football game, Giants versus 49ers. Look at that. The Giants are going to the Super Bowl again against the New England Patriots. You're building a relationship. All the football fans are going to love you. The women that love football are going to love you. The men, they're going to think you're the coolest thing. You're building a relationship. Things that you would talk about with your best friend. Share that with them and mix it with your marketing. Okay, it's all marketing, but mix it with your promotion. Right? Your sales message. Mix it in. Be a real person. Learn how to use photos and imagery. I'm going to talk more about that. So that here's the bottom line. You build a list, you build a relationship with your list, and you can monetize it. That means turn it into money. Okay? So you monetize your list with good offers. Now sure, there's your primary business, and then there's the other 97%. In other words, let's just say that here's your funnel again, okay? And you're getting all this traffic into your funnel. Well, at least I know on mine and Sophia's business, 93 to 97% of the people, okay, are not going to buy our primary business offer. So what do we have to do? We have to create another funnel for them that we can get them into if they don't buy our primary. And this over here has made us hundreds of thousands, probably closer to $1 million in the last 3.5 years with our monetizing. Now, sure, monetizing is our primary as well. We're still building a list to build a relationship so we can make money with our primary. That's also monetizing. But whether it's your primary or affiliate offers, right? Different training tools, systems, right? And Power Network it's not just an incredible vehicle as far as a marketing strategy, a marketing tool, right? With the viral blogging system and all the training, but it's actually an affiliate program as well that pays you 100% commissions. It's the best one we've seen in our entire careers. And like I said, we have made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And here's why I say we've made $1 million, because a lot of the people who didn't buy our primary, but they bought our affiliate product, wound up buying our primary product as well. But it took a little bit of time, but they came in as an affiliate product, and then they said, hey, you know what? I'm so glad that those Rashkins actually showed us this affiliate tool or this affiliate product. I wonder what else these guys are up to. And then they would take a closer look at our primary, and that's how we would make a whole boatload more money with them. Okay, so it's real important to understand that concept. Oops, I think we went a little too far there. So, real important here. I'm going to get back to the prospecting, connecting, and closing, right? Beginning with the end in mind. Here's where it starts here. This is actually our email marketing segment. You start with your landing page, okay, your squeeze page. Call it any one of these things here. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you have a way to capture the lead. Okay, the email address, perhaps a name in the email address, sometimes phone number. I'll show you a quick example. This is mine and Sophia's landing page. Notice, this is actually an old picture of it actually. Now it says VIP access only, or for a VIP callback. So people put their phone number there. But we get their first name, their email, and their phone. Okay? And we've tested this page, and we've run with this page now for almost 3 years. And we can't beat it. We've split tested. We've changed out headlines. We've done all sorts of different things in our funnel. We cannot beat this one here. Okay. Now there's a lot of different types of autoresponder campaigns. First and foremost, you've got autoresponder only. That's not really for our business. That's for big companies with giant audiences that can set up a kind of a campaign, an awareness campaign. And they send autoresponders only. They never really get involved in the day-to-day broadcasting. They don't really get into much of that. Then there's broadcast only, where people send out messages only when they sit down and feel like it. There's no leverage in that. Okay? Autoresponder only has leverage, but it's missing current events. Okay? It's missing what is current in the marketplace. So when you don't broadcast and you rely on stuff like this, it's pretty much old news. Things get outdated, right? David talked about earlier, technology changes, the market shifts, a lot of things go on in the world. When you don't have anything current, it's stale. It gets very stale. So you do have to have, large numbers of leads, and we're talking, hundreds of thousands of leads every single month. So that's not something that we would do. Broadcast only, again, no leverage. Then you have a combination of the two. And what happens sometimes is people set up autoresponders to go out, once or twice a week, and then they broadcast, maybe once every, 2 weeks. It's just too much time between, communicating with your list and developing and keeping that relationship. The most powerful one are daily messages. Our autoresponders, we get one message for 90 days straight that goes out, plus the broadcasts that I send out almost every other day. So some days people are getting 1, 2, possibly even 3 if they don't open their mail for 24 hours. But daily messages are critical because what it does is it conditions people to expect you in their inbox. And this is when people make folders, they expect your message, they stay up late waiting for it, or they look at their inbox, they're hoping that you're in there. This is the most powerful combination for our business and our niche. Home-based business, network marketing, affiliate marketing, internet marketing, direct sales, right? It doesn't matter if it's a low ticket, high ticket, doesn't matter what your product company or services or communicate or compensation are. You want to communicate, okay, on a daily basis. Okay? Let your messages run rampant. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a bit. Okay. Types of messages, I just want to remind you: information, education, promotion, inspiration, entertainment. Those are the different areas that you really want to hone in on. And then the big question comes up: how often should you mail your list? Okay, I'll tell you a quick story. Okay, then we're going to speed up a little bit because I know we got lots to cover here. I was on a webinar before I even got into any internet marketing. We were still doing the traditional style MLM, using home parties, cold calling leads, talking to the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, whoever could fog a mirror, we would talk to them. And I got on a webinar because I was so intrigued by all this internet marketing stuff. This is going back about 4 years, and the question was asked, how often should I mail my list? And the response that this guy gave was brilliant. He said, when I mailed my list once a week, I made $100,000 that year. He said, when I mailed my list once a day, I made $100,000 a month. Enough said. Okay, so subject lines. When you do a mailing, when you do an email broadcast or an autoresponder message, right? These are all the different types of subject lines that you can use. Okay, stating the obvious. You can write something like, "Yeah, the economy's in the tank," right? And then they open it up because that's obvious. That's something that's already on their mind. Right? And then there's zaniness. You could write something like boo ha ha, or moi, or like as in like a kiss, or nom nom nom, which means eating on the internet, like Cookie Monster. So silly, right? You can go without a name, you can use their name, you can be in rapport with them, you can be out of rapport with them, right? You can create what's called herd mentality. Some of these subject line ideas are a little bit, I'm not going to get into every single one of them here. This is, there's way too much to cover in a short period of time. But there's a lot of different ways to get people to do the one and only thing that the subject line is supposed to do, and that is to open the message. That's it. If it doesn't get them to open the message, then that subject line wasn't effective. And you can't get everybody to open the message, but if you can get anywhere between 7% to 10% opens, this is called, you can make a fortune. Okay, our open rates are sometimes 5%, but see, the bigger your list gets, it's okay because the other 95% are still there, and they may be paying attention another day. So not a big deal, but you can do 7 to 10% of your list, you can make a fortune. You do 5% of your list, you can still become very, very successful. So don't think that you have to have much higher than that. Okay, let's keep moving. Greet or not to greet. This is the greeting. You can say whatever you want to say. What's up? Hi. No greeting at all. right? Hey, friend, how's it going, Mary? Hey, real quick. You can just be you, whatever you feel like saying, however you feel like saying it. Okay, real important. It's based on the mood of your message. Okay. Okay, exactly what we talked about earlier. What do you want to say? How is your message going to benefit your audience? What is the outcome you're looking for? Again, these are things you want to know before you sit down and write. Pre-plan this. Preconceive it. Do third degree copywriting. Okay, know in advance exactly what you're going to do. Okay, and then of course, what's your story? These are one of the most powerful ideas in copywriting. Referencing a past event. Everybody loves stories, right? When we were kids, I know my kids every night, I don't know, my 11-year-old's more into like playing the iPad now and playing video games, but my 3-year-old, every night, he wants me to read a story, his bedtime story, right? So we read a story sometimes during the day, sometimes before bed, but we always read a story. Love stories. People love stories. Then you go to college and people want to know, your story. You bump into them at the bar. You bump into them on campus. Hey, let me tell you a story about this, this new guy, this new girl I met, blah, 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 right? Once upon a time. Isn't that the most famous opening of a story ever? So people love stories. So learn to tell stories. Okay? What's your story? Learn how to tell it. Remember the problem, agitation, solution formula. This is great stuff right here, because you can weave your story into a story that turns out is about them. So real important to understand how to tell your story, how to create that commonality, how to create, that common thread, that runs between you and the other people. Okay, the people reading your message, your market, your list. Okay, real important to understand these things. Okay, resources I want to share with you real quick. These are just some names that I've read for years. Some of my favorite writers, some of my great pieces. Clayton Makepeace, look these people up online if you have to. Clayton Makepeace, Gary Halbert, John Carlton, some of the best out there. Clayton Makepeace is just, this guy is all about copywriting. He's just incredible. So many people know who he is, but then there's so many people that don't, but look him up, phenomenal guy. Yannick Silver, great stuff. He has some great courses that I've gotten in the past. Copywriters Guild, this is actually a Magnetic sponsoring course. If you're a Magnetic customer, you can go into your back office and buy that. I think that's Mike Dillard and Ben Settle. I took that course back in December of 2008. Really great series on copywriting. Good stuff, really powerful. And then one of my favorite books ever, this is actually a classic for people that really, this book is, I think you can get it, at a discount for like $400. Breakthrough Advertising. It's very old school, and it's for the advanced copywriter. This is somebody that's already making, $5 to $10 grand a month minimum, that wants to really have some incredible breakthroughs. It's not basic stuff. It's not simple. It's a really in-depth copywriting training book on advertising and the mind of the buyer. It's very powerful. It's one of the most quoted books out there. I've seen some of the biggest names in our industry talking about breakthrough advertising. I'm embarrassed to say it's in our bathroom. Okay, I'll just admit it. It's in our bathroom. It gets read quite a bit, and it's one of my favorite books. And it was in my office and on a coffee table at one time, but it's in the bathroom. So, but it is something that we read all the time, and it's really powerful stuff. Okay, let's keep moving here, gang. I know we got some ground to cover. We already covered that. We covered that. I don't know how I skipped around, but let's just jump even further. Okay, I'm going to go into my top 10 email marketing strategies, and then I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to see if Dave and Dave either want to jump out and share a little bit, or just let me keep going, because I got some stuff to share, gang. I prepared a good 60 minutes for you guys, not knowing it was we were going to be limited on time here. So let's keep moving here. I've got 10 email marketing strategies that will blow your list away. First and foremost, the use of LY words. I don't know why. I really can't explain it. All I know is that when you use LY words, it captures people's attention. It draws people in. I really believe that the LY at the end of the words creates some sort of an honesty. I don't know exactly what it is. And if you're an honest person, use the LY words. If you're not, don't use any words. Just get out. But the point is that LY words always draw people in. I don't know. Maybe we can get some David Sharp insight on that. Okay, email marketing strategy number 2. Okay, the use of forwarded messages. Whenever I do a campaign, sometimes it's a day or 2 days or 3 days, or maybe it's a launch, right? Maybe it's the launch of some new product or course or whatnot. It just came off the Cash Control course with my buddy Andrew Cass, and I did this whole soap opera series where I would show the message, from earlier. Okay, so I'd show the message from earlier in the new message. And I would say at the bottom of my new message, P.S., here's what I sent earlier. And then I would make sure that they saw the forwarded message. And then that way, if they don't take action in the new message, they have the old one. And then below that, there could be another forwarded message with this same kind of top of the message headline right here. So this forwarded message always really creates what's called the soap opera series. It's an ongoing thing that people look forward to reading each and every message that comes out, just like a soap opera. Okay, let's keep moving. Number 3, polarizing. Here's my big thing with polarizing. Not everybody's going to like you. Bottom line is this: when you market to everybody, you market to nobody. I'm going to use Howard Stern as an example. Howard Stern is probably one of the most disliked, radio personalities or entertainment personalities in the world, but he's also one of the most liked at the same time. Okay, I know it's kind of contradictory, but he doesn't care what the people who don't like him think, and many of them just tune in because they just can't believe what he says and what he's, they want to know what he's going to say next. So you have to be willing to polarize your list. Again, it's your audience. Okay, so if you have a list of people, and over here is the like side, and then this is the dislike side over here. You want the people who like you, right, to really like you, to really believe in you and what you're saying and understand who you are and why you're, what motivates you. You really want them to get to know you. The people that dislike you, they can unsubscribe, which is doing you a favor because now you're not hosting them in your list. But if they're not interested in you or what you stand for, your message, get out of here. Who cares? Doesn't matter, gang. The more sales you make, the more refunds you're going to get. If you're not getting refunds or chargebacks, you're not selling enough. It's the same thing with list building, right? If your list is getting big, you're going to get a lot of unsubscribes. Don't take it personally. There's no time for being personal in business. So you got to understand, you got to market to the people who want to be marketed to. Okay? When you market to everybody, you market to nobody. Polarize your list. Like, I took a big risk when I said that, the Giants were going to win the NFC Championship game. I was polarizing because I knew that I wanted all those East Coasters and, those New Yorkers, those people that were standing tall for my Blue Men in the NFC Championship last weekend. I was polarizing, taking a risk that it was possible that the 49er fans were not going to like me anymore, or they were going to, think I was a joke or a goof or something like that. I didn't care. I was willing to polarize my list. And you know what? It made tons of sales because all week they've been coming in, and I got people still sending me Facebooks and Facebook messages and emails say, you were right about the Giants. I can't believe they won. That was such a great game. I can't wait for the Super Bowl. And you know what? When you put it out on the line, when you stick your neck out, great things happen. So don't forget that. Number 4, conditioning. Okay, there's different types of conditioning. There's price conditioning. There's effort conditioning, right? Telling people that it's going to cost $25. Here's what I wrote in an email. I said, you know what? To get your viral blogging system for the next 30 days, it's going to cost you less than going to a movie and dinner with your sweetheart. It's called price conditioning. Effort conditioning, I tell them, look, there's no such thing as a free lunch. You got to work. You want to know the secret to success? You got to work. I did a whole blog post on it. Got so many comments. People loved it. Got tons of email feedback. Got tons of comments when I did my team training and all the calls that we do, right? You got expectation conditioning. Tell them what they're going to see next. What's next when they click the Buy Now button? Show a video. Show a screenshot. Tell them in words, right? Tell them on the phone. Expectation conditioning is powerful because it makes sure that they know exactly what is going to come next. And then competitor conditioning. This is just building up some of your competitors and the price points and so forth. Telling them all that the competitor charges and how yours is less money and so forth. So those are the different types of conditioning. Let's go to number 5, social proof. Right? Keeping a running log of your testimonials, images, videos, screenshots. There's all these different things that provide social proof. Okay? Testimonials, images, videos, and screenshots. Learn how to use your computer. Learn how to take screenshots. Learn how to grab images or take pictures and crop images and make little, arrows and circle things and, really make your pictures stand out because, and I'll share with you why in just a bit. But here's why. Well, this isn't why. I'll get to that in just a second. But here's number 6, segmenting and rebroadcasting, separating your list into categories based on actions that people have taken or not taken. In other words, you can segment based on, opens, okay, versus no opens. Okay, the people that open, you can send them another message and say, hey, I noticed you opened up my email, but you still haven't, clicked the buy now button. Let me explain to you what you're missing. The people that didn't open it, right, you can send them a message with a new subject and see if you can get their attention to maybe double your open rate, right, from the first email. So you can send them a new subject, see if maybe that catches their attention. This is called segmenting and rebroadcasting. You've got to be in control of your own autoresponder to do that. But point is that is one of my strategies that has allowed us to literally double our opens, our clicks, and our sales. Okay, here's that strategy I was talking about before, word and image linking. In a click-happy society, if your images and impact words are clickable links, your readers will visit your message and ultimately your websites 100% more often. Gang, that's double. That's double, okay, what they would normally do if you didn't have images and words as clickable links. It's really important that you don't just put a URL and expect that people get it. You want to put something like, click here now, right? Or you want to have a picture of yourself at the bottom. If you're on my list and you click on my picture or mine and Sophia's picture or whatever image I put there, it's always a link because people mouse over the images. They always mouse over images. And if they see they can click, guess what? They click. So if it's at the bottom of your message and they read all the content, mousing over an image, if it doesn't click, you're missing a chance at making another exposure there. So real important to understand that. And then number 8, let's get back into, that's not what I wanted. Give me a second here, gang. Yep, there we go. Let's see, where were we? Okay, so that was number 8. Nope, that was number 7. Number 8 is message scheduling, cycles of attention. I talked about this earlier. And basically what that means is that, there are certain times, okay, of the day that are much better to reach people through email than others. In other words, morning, before, I say 7:30 Eastern time here in the United States, and I'm basing this just on U.S. time here, so just, bear with me if you're living in a different country. But yeah, it's definitely before 7:30 because people will open their mail before work, and then by 8:30, 9 o'clock, they're at work until their first break. And I know people sneak into the computers and smartphones and look at their email and stuff, but you're better off for messages hitting the inbox at 7:30, and then over lunchtime. Okay, again, all Eastern Standard Time, lunch between say 11:30 and 1:30. That's a good time for mail to hit. And so you can schedule your mail, and then happy hour at night. Okay, happy hour is 4:30 to roughly about 9 o'clock, 9:30 in some cases. Certain times of the week I don't mail, like Fridays. People are just blowing off steam. They're out having fun, right? Getting back to their family. They're not really thinking about what you're thinking about. So for the most part, they're not really checking email. They're not as attentive. And then understand this: cycles of attention. Okay, time is critical to understand because there are times where you don't even read certain people's emails for sometimes days, weeks, even months at a time, and then all of a sudden, they catch your eye. Something comes in, and you're like, your eyes just got real big, and you start paying attention, and then sometimes you fade out, you fade in, and never take anything personal. Sometimes people are super attentive, sometimes they're not. Holiday time is tough to get people's attention, yet there's a lot of buying going on because it's, that's the buyer's habit. But don't feel like, nobody's paying attention. They're always watching everything you do. So don't think for a second that even if they read your email, they don't read it today, they may have it in a folder, they may come back and read 4, 5, 6 emails at one time. You just never know. And then strategy number 9, again, authenticity. I talked about this earlier. Just be yourself. Nothing more powerful than being you. And quit worrying about what other people think of you. I'm going to share this with you real quick, and then we're going to wrap up to number 10. And then I'm going to take a breath, and I don't know if we want to take a break here, or maybe bring our next speaker out. I know I covered a lot of ground here. I've been going for probably about an hour and 15, 20 minutes, but I really wanted to do a brain dump for you guys tonight because I know you deserve it. And I always want to give Dave 100% for what I know it can deliver. So I know Sophia did it, and I know that that's how we operate. But authenticity, let me share this with you real quick. This is really important to understand, okay? While you're worried about what everybody thinks of you, they're more worried about what you think of them. In other words, they're not thinking about you. Like when you go out to the public, or you go to the gym or the health center, or the fitness center, okay, so many people try to look good for everyone else, and what's happening is everybody's doing their best to look good for everybody else, but they're all worried about what everyone thinks of them. They're not really judging anybody else. And so instead of worrying about what people think of you, just be authentic, be yourself. There's nothing more powerful than a person showing up as they are. And if you don't like how you're showing up, change. It's that simple. If your results are not where you want them to be, change. Get better. Okay? Because when you get better, you'll do better. It's so, so simple. Get better. Implement. Work like your life depended on it. Because I know in a lot of cases it does. And number 10, use different writing styles, right? Make your emails. Look at the emails that Dave sent out. They're full of impact words, right? They capitalize a lot of words, fully cap words, right? Then this is called initially capping. Okay, initially capping. So some words are going to be real strong impact words. Then they got italics and bolding and underline. Make your words come off the page. Highlighting, right? You put a nice yellow background. There's a way to do that on your autoresponder system. Word wrapping. Make sure that your columns are maybe between 7 and 10 words, right? And then make sure you always check that your copywriting doesn't have like a sentence that goes like this. Like 50, 20, or 50 words across the page, and everything else is, within 7 or 10, or if you go a little bit wider, because your eyes travel just like the page that you read on a piece of paper. Your eyes don't travel 2-3 feet across the spectrum. Your eyes are used to going pretty much in a column straight down. So keep your columns tight. Wrap your lines. Don't have like single the. He, don't have have impact words at the end of the sentence so it draws people back in. And then what I call grouping. You can actually write words at the end of a sentence, like right along the margin here, that actually are a little cluster of words that have their own hidden subliminal message. It's called grouping. And then I use a lot of numbers and lists, and that usually gets people's attention. People are list makers, so they're always going to be attracted to somebody else that's also involved in a list, because again, it creates that commonality. So those are my top 10 email marketing strategies. They're actually 10 of close to 100 I have, but those are my top 10. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap up with this. There's some very, very powerful copywriting skills out there: sense of urgency, scarcity, herd mentality, right? Defacement, sharing your story of how bad you sucked when you first got started. You hear Dave and Dave talk about it all the time. They talk about who they were before they got, to this place that they're at right now after years of continual, persistent, and consistent effort, right? Consistent means showing up and doing it daily. Persistent means overcoming everything. Everything. So, using some of these copywriting skills in your copy, creating sense of urgency, timelines, deadlines, scarcity, letting people know, look, this is only available for a few people. I send out lots of messages when I do a promo and just let people know, hey, look, there were 10 at first, now there's only 9. And then I would have the little 10, in my message. It's called a strike through. I would make it look like this. And then we have 9. And then the next message, it might say 6. And then it might say 5, and they may say 2. And of course, these are real numbers. I'm not making this up. These are actually people buying, and there's only, a couple spots left. And at the end, you know what they see on all my marketing? Expired. If they click on the link after the time expires for the sense of urgency, right, the deadline, okay, and I run out of however many units I wanted to sell, right, if there's one left, as soon as that guy buys or that gal buys, next person to click on the link, it says expired. And what happens is, this is called conditioning. And it forces people who are seriously considering getting started, it forces them to take action the next time you make your offer, because now they don't want to miss out. And that's how you get people buying, and buying a lot. So Dave, I know I went a long time here tonight. I think we have somebody else that's coming out, Nick Bramble, who I can't wait to see. But I'm going to go ahead and stop right here, because I do want to give Nick a chance to present tonight, and I know you guys probably want to either jump out, share a little bit, maybe recap somewhat, and with that, I'm gonna pass it back over to you, Dave, and jump on out here if you would.
Great stuff, man, as always, and a couple of things I want to point out, and Dave, you're welcome to hop on here too in a sec. I saw that you popped on here a little bit ago, and Nick, I'm turning the screen over to you, just so you know. Is a lot of people they read and they study and they read and they study and they get on webinars and they study and they wake up and they study and they go to sleep and they read and they never do anything. And one of the things, a lot of people have asked, they said, how do you create such compelling videos? A lot of people don't understand when they're watching my videos, why they have such the insatiable desire to buy things, or when they're seeing a capture page, that Dave Sharp made, why they just kind of stare at it till they opt in. They can't help themselves. And Dave Sharp's made a lot of capture pages. He's made a lot of dumb capture pages. I've made a lot of dumb videos in the beginning. And one thing Aaron said that I think is really it really does put things in perspective. You got to email every day. You got to blog every day. You got to write every day. It was the thing he put first and last. You got to write every day. If you write every day, you'll be a great writer. One of the best copywriters in the direct mail niche, especially, but also just in the direct marketing niche, is a guy named Dan Kennedy. And one thing that he does, and it's really a unique thing to actually do, but he does not allow himself to have a day go by where he doesn't write for at least an hour. He writes at least an hour every day. And sometimes he just sits there and he starts writing about nothing. But he writes for an hour every single day, and the reason he does it is because what you do daily governs who you become. So Aaron is, of course, a great example of that. So thank you, Aaron, for coming on. And Dave Sharp, I don't know if you want to say anything here before I introduce Nick, or if you just want me to pass it over and come out here at the end. So
I just want to say, I one time I tried not to join, Aaron Rashkin or whatever, and I started to get a rash. So I was like, this guy's got more going on here than just being a badass marketer. He's got some voodoo stuff going on. And so as I was kind of thinking, I was actually trying to deny Rashkin as he was speaking, and I started to get a rash again. And I was like, holy crap! I was like, this guy's got some magical stuff going on here, man. So more than anything, man, I really just wanted to identify, these guys are coming out here, man, and talking and just kind of let everybody know that, some of the things that Aaron Rashkin just talked about, some of these guys coming out here talking about different marketing core concepts and stuff. But, most people are out here paying. A lot of these gurus are out here selling this stuff for $2,000, $1,500, $2,000. I don't know if anybody's actually watched these guys market. That's actually one thing that I recommend people doing So is actually watch people market. Aaron was actually somebody who you see his face all over the place. It's kind of hard not to run into him. So it's not what I respect. Is I respect guys who are actively in the game marketing, and that's one thing that Dave and I committed to never stop doing is actually market. And as much as we're running a big company, we're actively marketing in the field each day. So I want to remind everybody on the call, and then I'm going to turn it back over to you, Dave. And you know, I'm just hanging out here and come on at the end or whatever I need to do. But I want to remind everybody that, you know, the key to all this is to take these principles and implement them. Just like Dave said, we all started somewhere, and I don't think Aaron was always a great copywriter, and I wasn't always a great copywriter. But I just appreciate you guys. I'm just glad to be here. I was just kind of listening to Aaron and just amazed also at the humility of great leaders. You know, great leaders, a lot of these guys are really humble, and I think it's important to always kind of stay within our means. And that is what makes a great leader. You know, on this call, we're talking about leadership and influence and recruiting. And, you know, if you want to be a great leader, it's always important to kind of showcase your skills and let your results speak for you instead of having just a big mouth and always, you know, talking but never walking. And I just wanted to commend the guys who are coming out here because I see leadership, I see influence, I see all the things that we're teaching, and I also see humility, and I respect that. So I appreciate you guys. Back over to you, Dave, and I'm here to be of service however I can, and I can come on at the end or whatever, but I think we've got somebody else on the line that we're going to introduce here.
And Aaron, thanks again for coming on. I'm gonna mute you out and just.
Yeah, guys, thanks.
I'm gonna help Aaron. We're gonna see if we can't help Aaron make another 100,000 a month or so here coming up in the next few months. So next guy I'm gonna introduce here is I'm echoing, so I'm gonna actually mute him out here while I introduce him. This is Nick Bramble, and Nick's one of these. I can't really explain Nick. You got to meet him. He's he really is a quiet guy. He's kind of a little bit of an introvert, you know. And you know, one thing that I've noticed actually, and it's real fascinating. A lot of people that are very, you know, prolific marketers, even prolific speakers, are you know, they kind of keep to themselves a lot. And Nick, I remember, you know, we started working together maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, in different companies and systems and things like this. And you know, anytime I've ever seen him try, he's just turned it on and done tons of sales. Anytime I've ever seen him try, he's you know, he'll hang out, and you know, he got an Empower Network, and I wasn't really paying any attention to what he was doing. He gets an Empower Network, and you know, 3 weeks later or something, he'd made $20,000. You know, he just turned it on. And anytime, you know, we were in a company together, anytime there was like a carrot, like a cruise or something like this, he's like, yeah, I gotta sell stuff, and he just turns it on and brings in 20 or 30 or 40 people. So he's really got an ability whenever he wants, and that's the key, is whenever he wants, to get people to respond to a message. And he's going to talk today, I believe, about the same thing, continuing on marketing to your list, continuing on. This is a subject we could cover for about 5 hours, all right? And we could never cover the same subject twice, although we'll probably cover some of the same stuff again and again. There's so much to build in a relationship, to sell in, to communicating with your list, and Nick's an example of that. So he's a prolific producer, great friend, sponsored some of the best leaders here in Empower Network as well. He's got teams of people who make, you know, $10,000 a month, and you know, makes a lot of money and other stuff as well. So Nick Bramble, I'm going to unmute you and mute out myself just so I don't pick up those echoes here. So take it away, buddy.
Hey guys, first off, can you just give me a quick hand to let me know that you can hear me before I really get into this stuff?
We can hear you fine, man.
All right, cool. Well, listen, you know, I'm actually totally blown away to be just watching this presentation tonight. To hear from Aaron and Kelly, the stuff that they shared, absolutely amazing stuff. I was actually, when Aaron was speaking just now, I must have taken a notebook worth of notes. The stuff that I'm going to go over tonight is some of it is very similar, but what I will say is I'm going to give you guys the template to follow, and then if you plug in all of that amazing stuff that Aaron showed you earlier, you guys are just going to, just be lights out and blow it away and really learn how to do some amazing things with your list. So, I just am appreciative of being here, appreciative of, you, Dave and Dave, for allowing me to speak. And allowing me to just to impact some more lives, because that's what it's all about. It's about touching as many lives, as we can. What I'm going to talk about here today, and let me bring this up here. What I'm going to talk about today is how to make 10 times more money with the same list. And some of these concepts you've heard about in detail, but what I want to do is I want to lay out a template for you guys to really follow. And then if you plug some of that stuff that Aaron was talking about into this template, you guys are just gonna go crazy with it. So think of this, this is your template here. Sort of like when you write a report at school, you've got this outline, and you've got some more information in here, and then that turns into this big, report. So this is going to be your template. And if you use the stuff that you learned earlier in this presentation, you're going to have a killer report, that makes you lots and lots of money. So what we're going to talk about is how to make 10 times more money with the same list that you already have now. And I'm going to show you two quick little things that I've been doing lately to really, really do some cool things with my list. So just first off, for those of you who don't know me, quick low, my name's Nick Bramble, as you've heard, and I've actually been full-time for 7 years. And like Dave said, it's kind of my style to lay back in the background, just sort of kick back and see what's going on, and then pop out and do some really big things when I want to do those things. Because part of the reason that I do that is my business, it's all about leverage, and it's all about creating time. So I can do cool stuff, like this, go out and enjoy cruises and enjoy life. I'm a family guy. I love nothing more than to spend time with my family. I want to be with my wife and my children as often as possible. So I'm all about, creating business that has tremendous leverage so that I can have time. Because really, when you think about it, all of us, even if we're creating lots and lots of income and wealth, the wealth isn't what we want. It's the time that it allows us to do the things that we want to do with the people that we love the most. So that's what we're really all striving for, is that time to do the things that we really love the most. So, I've been full-time for 7 years, but, life wasn't always as cool as it is now. I'll talk about that, in the next slide here. But, I've been able to generate, one of the things I've been able to do is generate huge profits with a relatively small list. I'm not a guy, I'm not like, Aaron and Sophia who have hundreds of thousands of people on their list. Not even close. But because I'm able to do, some things to leverage my list, because I'm able to sort of follow this template that I'm going to lay out for you guys, I've been able to pull some really huge profits, out of a small list. So here's me again, and here's my family. Here's my wife and my 2 children. This is Avery, and this is Brady, and this is my wife, Wendy. But this is my why. Why I choose to be a leader and why I choose to do more is my family. It's because I want to spend as much time with my family as I absolutely can. Okay? And a lot of the leaders have been talking about this. I know Kelly talked about it. I know Aaron talked about it. I know, Dave has talked about it. Dave and Dave have both talked about this. You have to have a really, really powerful why in this industry and in anything that you do, to be successful. It's not enough. It's not enough to just have willpower, because willpower it'll allow you to work hard and it'll allow you to get a lot of things done. But willpower doesn't really stop you from slipping backwards and going into bad habits when things get tough, which they will. In this industry, in life, in whatever business that you're doing, things will get tough. And if you're just relying on willpower, it's going to be really, really hard to stay focused. You've got to be driven by a more powerful why. And for me, that why, you're looking at it right here. This is my why right here. This is why I do what I do. This is why I create leverage in my business. This is why I don't create wealth. I create time. I don't think of my success in terms of the amount of wealth that I can create. I think of my success in terms of the amount of time that I can create to be right here, because I want to be nowhere else but here as often as possible, in my life. So I am very, very driven and have a very powerful why. I can remember right before I went full time in this industry, and my story is that I got forced into going full time in this industry. Several years ago, it was actually about 7 years ago, I was let go from my job. I was a supervisor at a university. I had a research position, and what we did is we worked on what they call soft money. And what that means is you've got a job as long as the university has funds to pay you. Well, if you've been paying attention to what's been going on, over the last decade or so, universities have been cutting back, and I was just one of those casualties. It didn't matter how hard I worked there. It didn't matter what I did there. I did some great things there and did some really nice things for them. But at the end of the day, they've got to make some cuts, and I was one of those casualties. But in truth, I really felt like I was let go in every sense of the word. I was let go to really start living my life the way that I wanted to. At the time, I was sort of messing around with the internet and creating some money here and there and having some success, but not really doing anything, kind of still falling on my face a little bit. But the thing that I remember most, right before I was let go from my job, at the time, Avery was just a little baby. She was 8 or 9 months old at the time, and Brady, he was. My wife was pregnant with Brady at the time. But what I remember is that we were dropping Avery off at daycare in the morning, and every single morning that I dropped her off would just break my heart. I hated it more than anything else. Dropping her off at daycare and leaving her with strangers who, at the time were spending more time with her, or at least as much time with her as we were as her parents. We were dropping her off with, really with strangers who were hanging out with her all day and who weren't giving her the time she deserved because they had, other kids to take care of and all these things going on. But it really, really just broke my heart to leave your baby girl, with, they weren't strangers, you'd never leave with a stranger, but, in terms of, they weren't family, it was their job. They had a daycare and we knew them and we knew they did a good job. But you were just leaving them with, a near stranger, and it was just heartbreaking. Every day was gut-wrenching and really, really, really hard. But that's when I started developing a really strong why. It was why I wanted to do everything. I never wanted to have to spend any time away from my family at all, because that's, to me, it's the most important thing on the planet, is being able to spend as much time, with those people that you love the most. Okay, so I developed a very, very strong why, and when I was let go from my job, I took it as I really, really, really was let go. Okay, and I took it to heart, and I went to work and I busted my tail, and it wasn't always easy. It was hard a lot of the time, but because I had a powerful why and I wasn't just relying on willpower. If I was just relying on willpower and working hard, there would have been times, I promise you, that I would have just fallen off and not done the things that I was supposed to do. But because I was motivated by something way bigger, I had a very powerful why. It wasn't just trying to create money. It was trying to create an immense amount of time to spend with my family my wife and my children and my entire family that really, really drove me to do what I do. Okay? So, knowing that, I want to jump into this presentation and get you guys some really, really good stuff. Again, I want you guys to think of this as your outline, and then take the stuff that Mr. Aaron Rashkin, who's an absolute superstar, you guys, an absolute superstar. What I want you guys to understand is that the Empower Network is awesome, is an awesome tool and an awesome system, and there's some awesome training here, and it will allow you to create crazy amounts of wealth. But the real change in your life will be in the ability you have to connect with leaders like Aaron and myself and Dave and Kelly and all of these leaders you've already heard from in this series. The ability to connect and immerse yourself in the things that we do on a daily basis. That's what's going to just result in total life change for you. Okay. Excuse me. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about how to make 10 times more money with the same list. Plus, again, I'm going to give you 2 tricks that are just going to blow you away in terms of getting response out of your list. And a lot of people are doing one of them. Almost nobody is doing the second. And I actually just started it, but the results have been absolutely phenomenal. So we'll talk about that. But before I learned the stuff that Aaron talked about earlier and the stuff that I'm going to get into now, before I learned this, I felt like I was always wrestling with my computer and my laptop, just pulling out pennies, just trying to get these little scraps of income out, and it was always sort of a chore, and it was always this big task to get money out of my business, to pull this money out of my computer. I always felt like I was just sort of wrestling with it. And then I learned what I'm about to show you, and I started implementing that into my business, and it literally changed overnight. This is, I went from, having to try and pull these pennies out of my computer to my computer. I would wake up and it was just already spitting money out, money out all day, every day. It was sort of like, you see in the cartoons sometimes where, they walk up to an ATM machine and it's broken and it just starts shooting out money. That's what it was like, when I stopped wrestling with my computer and wrestling with my business and learned, how to do it the right way and learned this outline I'm going to show you right now. So the secret to a hyper-responsive list that hands you money whenever you say join now is you. It's very, very simple. The secret is you, and I'm going to explain that, over the course of this presentation. But it's not about, having, it's not about looking for the shiniest new technique. It's not about, the one form of marketing, over the other, or, one specific, like pay-per-click over solo ads, over blogging, over this, over that. It really is the secret to having a hyper-responsive list is you and how you handle that list. And it all starts with your story, and I can't say this enough. You heard me tell my story. Aaron told his story. You've heard Dave and Dave's story a gazillion times. You heard Kelly's story. Think about how many times you've heard those stories, and think about how important it must be if every single leader you've ever heard teach you anything important starts with their story. Okay? It starts with you and your story. And here's why. People don't want to be sold on things. People don't want to be sold on things, but they do. People do want to hear your story. They want to feel like they relate to you in one way or the other. They want to feel like what they're trying to do is possible. They want to hear your story, and they do want to buy stuff. People definitely want to buy stuff. Nobody wants to be sold anything. they're sold on anything, but they do want to buy stuff. So in the beginning, this is where a lot of people get tripped up. They think, well, hey, Nick, I don't have a story. The reason that, I've partnered with you guys, the reason I'm doing this business or that business, or, I bought into this training is that, I need to, create a story. I haven't been successful. You've got to be successful to have a story. And no, you don't. You don't have to be successful to have a story. You just have to be you. All the time, you have to be you. I've heard before, the fake it till you make it type stuff, and I think that's just baloney. Okay, you always want to be you. 100% of the time, be you. No matter where you're at, be you. But in the beginning, when you don't have income testimonials, for example, or you don't have marketing technique testimonials, you can't go out and say, well, I created 50 leads a day or 100 leads a day for the last 30 days, or, I made, X amount of dollars online and all this stuff. You always have you. So in the beginning, focus on things like focus on your why. Why are you doing this? Okay, whenever you're talking to people on your list, within your emails, focus on things like your why. Make yourself relatable to people. You want people to feel like they know you. You want people to understand your situation. And if you focus on your why, they'll do that. They'll be able to bond with you. Okay, and that's very, very important in the beginning. More important than having these big, huge testimonials in the beginning is people just knowing you and bonding with you, because you're not just